Fantastic. Looking nice and healthy. That's great. Wow, that's nice. That's very nice. Lovely, lovely, lovely. You're not going to find bees this strong without some sort of food at this time of the year. We're at the beginning of June now, end of May, so we're right in the middle of winter basically.
You can hear them, but you can't see any. Seems like a bit of a challenging task, but yeah, most of them are just high up there. Let's see if we can get it in here. Oh. I think one would most possibly get, better at it the more often you do it. Oh, that was close. I was born and grew up in a rural village, 35 kilometers or so east of Polokwane. Growing up all in the rural areas, all that we knew, me, my friends and other people around, is that bees were not good. If you come across bees, it's either you make a run for it or you just make sure that you kill it before it stings you. And today, here I am actually being involved in such important and critical research that has to do with these honeybees.
Up in the mountains, lots of lovely proteas around, and then lots of smaller little nondescript bushes that we often miss when we're walking past, little pink flowers and purple flowers, and they all contribute to a diversity in the bee's diet. And it's unique vegetation to the Cape, so the two have evolved together. Fynbos is essential to the survival of our Cape bee, especially with other forage being knocked down the way they're taking it out. Most beekeepers who've got access to fynbos, or who know what they're doing, will try to use fynbos. Oh, lovely. This was a new queen in this hive. You can see they're Cape black bees, so they're very black. They're Cape bees. Lots of different colors of pollen. Very nice.
We catch bees in these bottles, and there's a chemical ethyl acetate which subdues the bees and puts them to sleep so that we can handle them afterwards.
Although you call it a killing bottle, I wouldn't like to call it a killing bottle. I'd like to call it a sacrificing bottle. Yeah. Yeah, it just doesn't sound good when you kill things that you're working on, you love, and so on.
Pick up the bee with a tweezer and then hold it between thumb and forefinger with its lower side pointing upwards, and then that exposes the honey sac.
Does South Africa need more research into such forage resources? And the answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, wonderful.
This is the honey stomach that I've just pulled out from the abdomen of the bee.
3.
I'd give it a 3, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
3 there. There are several factors that can be considered threats to our honeybees, and mostly being the likes of pesticide use, diseases, and we also have the stress that these bees encounter when the beekeepers work them for pollinating the crops, and also the other one being the loss of forage. And in this instance, forage is something that we can do something about. Martin Johannes Meyer has documented certain forage across the country.
Pollen size, pellet size.
But on a broader spectrum, on a more thorough investigation into this type of forage resources, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. And my research is a baseline for more research to come in.
And there you have your sample of nectar.
sugar concentration is 23. Using techniques such as these, we can evaluate the kind of forage that is good and is important for our honeybees, and what we can do in terms of looking at ways to look after such forage, or look at ways in which we can increase such forage, or even protecting such forage.
How many plant species I've processed with this method? About 400. But that is just a small part of our incredible flora that we have in South Africa. There is still much to be done, to be found out.
These bees are not that cross, otherwise I wouldn't be able to do that with them. Give me your hand here. Put your hand here. Give me your hand. Pass me your hand. Carlos, put your hand out here. Here we go. I'll make you into a beekeeper yet. Isn't that amazing that you can hold bees like that? And they don't sting. Hey? I think it's very important to know what's doing this to the bees. I mean, look how healthy they are. That's the important thing. What is doing this? Well, I know what's doing this. It's a fynbos. They're meant to be together. You just look at the results when you're getting full boxes of bees like this, and they're just happy. Happy and healthy.
Just looking out here, you just see, some nice plants starting to flower since it's early spring and so on. It's nice breeze outside, and yeah, it's a good day. This is basically my office space where everything happens. All the documents come in through here. You can see I have a nice little PC here. When one looks at South Africa's honeybee population, we're quite lucky. We've got quite a good gene pool. The same honeybees that are managed by the beekeepers are the same honeybees that we find within our natural ecosystem and landscape. It comes to a point where we need to maintain this. It's a very broad, demanding research, because when you're looking into the forage resources that these honeybees use, it's something that one can do in a lifetime. Hundreds and thousands of plants out there, and there's just no way that one can follow each and every little bee out there and try and find out what it's collecting and from which plant it's collecting. Given the magnitude of the amount of information that one would have needed to collect, I thought the first point would be to turn to our local beekeepers. Some of them will even tell you which plants are good for bees and which ones are not. So that's the kind of critical information that I looked and I thought it would be good to acquire from these guys. Coming up with a questionnaire was the very first and possibly the best option, because there are so many of them, close to about 1,400 or so on across the country. It was going to be a huge task to visit each and every one of them.
We're in spring now. Just got through a cold, wet winter. And we're back with the bees after they've had their break from the beekeeper in the fynbos. The farmers' trees are starting to flower, being spring, and they need something to come and pollinate their trees, of which honeybees are one of the easiest to control. I'm going to prep this hive for pollination, because I think they're plenty strong enough. They've got 5 frames of brood. There's the queen. The queen is hoping to hide from us. The queen is the egg factory. She makes sure that these colonies survive by laying eggs which turn into adult bees. Before they're any good for pollination, they have to be a certain strength. So this little queen needs to lay lots of eggs. The bee's role is very important in modern day world as far as food security goes. Unfortunately, we have to manipulate them to be able to take unnaturally large numbers of beehives into orchards. Moving bees is hard on the bees. We're still losing 20% maybe 25% of our swarms each year. Losses happen, as in all businesses, but we're obviously trying to look after the bees and be shepherds of the bees, not just abuse them and use them.
These beekeepers, they've been keeping bees for a long time. They are managing them, so they are in a way custodians. And some of these guys have been keeping bees for more than 40 to 50 years. That makes them very knowledgeable in terms of the forage resources that these honeybees use. And that is very critical and important indigenous knowledge.
With forage, as far as forage goes, we need diversity. We don't want to always be reliant on monoculture like this canola here. So we need to have canola, we need to have fynbos, we need to have the wild spring flowers, we need to have eucalyptus, we need a bit of everything, I think, to make it all happen and to keep the bees healthy. I think the bees need diversity in their diets. This farm takes about 1,200 hives. It's one of our bigger farms. Oh man, those bees are working nicely. So pleased. Those are beautiful, strong hives. Those are not just any hives. Those are pollination bees, special bees.
What is most important for the research as a whole is that I establish a trust relationship with these beekeepers. Thanks for making time to meet me so we can chat and you can tell me more about your bees and what we're doing in this nice, beautiful orchard in terms of pollination.
The farmers have planted the trees so intensively that they need a huge number of pollinators at one time, and the easiest, most reliable way to control that is to bring in beehives. According to the research, the bees improve the quantity 3 times. Bee health is the huge consideration, especially with a lot of countries having problems with their bees.
Getting the right diet, getting them stronger, build up, and making sure that they are eating well, it's quite a constraint.
Not just getting monoculture or getting supplementary feeding, that's a short-term fix. It's not a long-term fix for bees. This is the bee factory.
So everything happens here.
This is where it all happens. That is all brood over here, which means that they had to feed that brood with pollen, and we've got pollen around the edges. Have a look at the diversity of the colors here in the pollen. So that is what contributes to their healthiness, is to have diversity in their protein. That's their protein, right? There we go. Check that out. There's lovely honey. There's the little eggs. So the queen laid those eggs. They hatched after 3 days into a little larva. They've been feeding that larva. And the larvae get bigger and bigger until you get these white ones here. And then when they get to that size, they go into a cocoon. And that's where they change from a larva into a bee. There we go. Here's a nice little plum coming here. Look at that. There we go. Those are all plums. It's amazing to see the results of the bees. So we just see the bees working the flowers all the time, and that's actually the more important, is that they get that. World population is growing very fast, and it needs to be fed. The farmers are going to be planting more and more trees and vegetables and things to supply the demand. So we're going to have to supply bees. We're going to probably have to have more and more beehives, and we can't do it at present because we don't have enough forage. We don't have enough place to keep the bees alive for the rest of the year to bring them in for pollination.
We're trying to get, the information from you guys. You know what they rely on, you know what their daily requirements are. So we need to put those things together. We need to put them together, we need to document them, we need to assess them. We need to make that information meaningful.
I've always liked to help the researchers out. And it will be fantastic, after all your hard work, for it to be implemented into planting programs.
In most instances, we don't get to think and realize how the food we eat gets to us. This is a more complex system than we think, Every little thing depends on the other. And it is very important that we, as the beneficiaries at the end of the line, start thinking about such things. We can't sit back and relax and think that things will continue to be the way they are. The first step is ensuring that these honeybees have good nutrition, and that's one critical point to focus on. Seen some nice queen cells, colorful brood, signs of good forage, healthy bees, got a nice fat sting. Our daily activities, they cross paths with the paths of these insects' lives, and I think it's very important that the public is aware of the importance of such pollinators, what they benefit from them, and what they can do in helping them. There is always something that you can do, not just looking after honeybees, but our natural environment and landscape and ecosystems as a whole.